Brain on Air. The program will begin shortly. Enjoy.
Vous écoutez votre cerveau en direct. Le programme va bientôt commencer. Profitez-en.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to your Brain on Air. I am your host, Ollie Larson, and let's address what's been happening at restaurants. The wait staff are getting attitudes. It's not even a joke anymore. Good morning. Good happy Monday, everybody. It is a beautiful November 3rd. It is officially a brand new month. This is the first, first broadcast we've had. I know it's not the first of the month, but it's the first broadcast we've had in the month. Quite honestly, a lot did happen over the weekend. November 1st, November 2nd. They were big days for news, quite frankly. Happy November, people. And honestly, we got a ton from the press over the weekend. Let's just start to shuffle through this collection of stories. Let's begin. Folks, Trump has an explosive interview with 60 Minutes post-ruling on the SNAP benefits needed to be funded. In an interview aired November 2nd, 2025, Trump placed responsibility for the continuing shutdown squarely on the Democratic Party, saying that the government will not reopen because the Democrats will not give in. He emphasized that Republicans have been voting almost unanimously to end the shutdown, and Democrats keep voting against ending it. And at the same time, he remarks, in remarks tied to the shutdown and the impasse over funding to larger policy debates, particularly around healthcare and the Affordable Care Act, he argued that Democrats were holding out for subsidy extensions, and that he wants to, quote, fix healthcare, but offer no concrete replacement plan when pressed on it. The interview came amid a critical moment for SNAP, which serves roughly 1 in 8 Americans and costs nearly $8 billion per month. 2 federal judges ruled that in the administration must use available contingency funds to continue at least partial SNAP benefits despite the shutdown. The administration had initially indicated that it would freeze SNAP payments starting November 1st because it claimed appropriate funds were exhausted due to the shutdown. In an interview's context, Trump's comments reflect that he believes the priority lies with forcing negotiations or capitulation by the Democrats rather than immediately resolving the benefit funding issue. Folks, I watched this interview. He was on fire. I'm not even going to lie to you. He was hot and bothered. He was ready to go. He was like sharper than any 60 Minutes interview that we got in the last 4 years with Biden. He was, but not to say that he was any less any more honest. Yeah, he was not any more that. He was definitely more coherent though. Like you could tell that he has ideas. He just can't really tell you exactly what those ideas are. The picture, however, remains unclear about when and how much SNAP recipients will receive, as the system for loading benefits, state agencies, timing, and the vendor system may take weeks to adapt, or weeks or months to adapt to it. We should also know that while the administration has a contingency fund around $5 billion earmarked for SNAP and emergency funds, it has been reluctant to fully deploy it, citing concerns about nutrition programs and future emergencies. The interview is just underscoring Trump's framing of the shutdown as a hostage situation imposed by Democrats, while at the same time, the SNAP program, critical for millions, is caught in a funding limbo with judicial mandates forcing some action, but operational uncertainty remaining. If you'd like, let's pull up this interview through WKYC Channel 3.
Shutdown now enters day 34. The Trump administration has until noon today to share how it plans to comply with a federal judge's order to fund SNAP. Meantime, millions are waking up to find their health care costs are set to soar. NBC's Alice Barr has the latest from Washington.
A critical deadline today with more than 40 million Americans waiting for low-income SNAP food benefits to kick in after funding ran out in the government shutdown.
It's really disturbing to see that some of our most vulnerable people are at risk.
Food drives across the country as long lines from Houston to LA demonstrate the urgent need.
I'm seeing a lot of people that I can see in their eyes they never thought they'd ever be in a food pantry line.
The Trump administration has until noon to respond to a federal judge's order to use contingency funds to restart the benefits. President Trump deflecting blame to Democrats.
If they vote to open the country, it's opened up immediately. We don't even have to think about that.
While on CBS's 60 Minutes, he again called for the nuclear option, getting rid of the filibuster to
Okay, interestingly enough, this was something that many Democrats have been talking about for years, actually, ending the filibuster. This was back during the eras where Republicans were using the filibuster a lot to quash a lot of Democratic stuff. They were filibustering, especially when they were trying to confirm certain judges for Obama's administration. They were throwing. This has been a practice that wasn't originally baked into the Constitution. It wasn't an original founding document idea that they had, but they did always know that the Congress and the Senate were going to be two different chambers of debate for civilians. In the sense where Congress was always going to be a little more heated, Senate was going to be the cooling saucer, as they refer to it as, because back in the day, stupidly, you know, the saucer that sits under teacups? Weirdly enough, back in the day, people used to have to pour the coffee into that saucer in order for it to, like, sit flat and cool, and then they would attempt to drink it out of that. That is a factually accurate statement. You can look into it if you don't believe me, but people do weird stuff, and then they become historical precedent. Anyways, the Senate has always been the cooling saucer, even though that doesn't make any sense. It always has been that for policy that has been pushed forward by the government. The filibuster, the reason that we have that whole 60 votes majority is because they realize that we're going to need a lot more people to work together. In reality, it doesn't result in people working together. It just results in nothing ever getting passed. So this was something that Democrats have floated in the past. Joe Biden and whatnot called for it back during his first administration. He called for us to abolish the filibuster. Thankfully enough, Kyrsten Sinema and Joe Manchin stopped that because they were smart. They were the only Democrats who were smart and played the long game and went ahead and said, no, do you realize that if you do this, that Republicans will do that in the future? So it's a complicated thing. If you're in the Senate or the House long enough, you are smart enough to realize that what goes around comes around. You're not going to be in power forever, and your party will eventually be the one that has to fight off the agenda of the other party. That's just a factually accurate statement. So sorry that Kyrsten Sinema and Joe Manchin, and a lot of people that you talk to that are Democrats, they hate these people genuinely, but you don't realize that they are actually some of the people that are playing 4D chess without, being credited for it. Anyways, let's continue.
Reopen the government without needing votes from Democrats, who are holding firm on health care provisions as part of any funding deal.
The Republicans have to get tougher. If we end the filibuster, we can do exactly what we want.
A new NBC News poll finds 52% of Americans surveyed blame President Trump and Republican lawmakers for the shutdown. 42% blame Democrats, with both President Trump and Democrats earning low approval ratings.
I think that Democrats are passive, and I think that Republicans are predatory. I think the whole system is a mess.
Elections tomorrow offering another snapshot of how Americans are feeling as both parties look ahead to next year's critical midterms. That new NBC News poll also showed voters split on immigration, with 50% of those surveyed holding negative feelings about ICE. Asked about ICE tactics on 60 Minutes, President Trump said he felt they hadn't gone far enough to get people out of the country, blaming liberal judges for holding them back. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
Alice, thank you. And with SNAP benefits still on hold, the Greater Cleveland Food Bank is preparing for another busy week of helping those in need. Over the weekend, the food bank distributed boxes of food and fresh items to those who stopped by for help. Also helping out this weekend, workers at Cleveland City Mission, who made sure women and children on the wait list for the shelter were also able to pick up food as needed. City Mission says their goal is to fill the gap and help those who need it in times of stress like this.
I think the important thing is that...
All right, anyways, perfect. That lady is out there helping people. Thank you very much. Folks, this is going to be the longest shutdown in government history. I'm very excited to be here for this historic moment. You should be too. You shouldn't be happy that it's happening, but you should be happy that you get to tell people that you survived it. Because, folks, that's what happens. Is we're going to survive this. Well, eventually... people can tell you that you can be panicked all you want. A democracy is over. That we're all going to starve. It's we will survive because that's what we do. That is the American spirit to persevere in the face of all possible bullshit. Isn't that the American spirit that we want to pursue, folks? Instead of kowtowing to this. All right. Anyways, folks. I think we should do an ad read, and then we should hop into our next story, because it's a busy Monday, but we should shake those Monday jitters away, because we got, it's the week. We can swing into the week together, folks. All right. In these shaky times, the stocks are wobbling, crypto market is crashing, and your mattress is a fancy fire hazard. Don't you dare be putting money in that, folks. Enter Fort Knox in a box, the only gold dealer that delivers real, shiny gold straight to your panic room. Our 24-karat bars are pre-stressed for maximum bling during blackouts, and every ounce comes with a free I Told You So certificate to wave at your broke-ass neighbors. Call 1-800-GOLD now before the next market squeeze wipes out another zero. Act now and get our limited edition Doomsday Starter Kit, a velvet pouch, a tiny pickaxe, and a coupon for therapy when the grid finally collapses. Supplies are melting faster than an ice cap, so do not wait for the apocalypse to come knocking. Hoard like a pro today. Fort Knox in a box, where your paranoia pays dividends. Thank you very much, Fort Knox in a box. Anyways, folks, next story. Second story of the day. Very interesting one if you're a Minnesotan like me. Lisa Demuth. Well, let's wait for the news to pronounce it. Republican from Cold Spring and House Speaker for Minnesota to challenge Tim Walz for third term as GOP nominee for Governor of Minnesota. Lisa is a Republican state representative from Cold Spring, Minnesota, District 13A. She was first elected to the Minnesota House in 2018. In January 2025, after a months-long stalemate caused by a vacant seat and the party tie in the House, she was elected Speaker of the House under a rare power-sharing deal. She became the first person of color to hold that position in in Minnesota, and the first Republican woman to serve as Speaker. Before her legislative career, she served on ROCORI school board for 11 years and was a small business owner with her husband. The announcement came this morning, November 3rd. The Associated Press reported that Lisa officially launched her campaign to run for governor of Minnesota with the intent of challenging Tim Walz, who is seeking a third term, unprecedented, by the way. In her announcement, Demuth emphasized her conservative values and pointed to her bipartisan work as Speaker in a deeply divided House as proof of her leadership cooperating with Democrats to end the boycott and pass budgets as proof of her leadership. She signed a desire to secure an endorsement from former President Donald Trump, former and current, noting his record on immigration and border issues as aligned with her priorities. Her campaign thus casts her as both a conservative, a stalwart, and someone who can navigate bipartisan realities, a hybrid pitch in a state that has trended Democrat in statewide elections for many, many years. Her issues and whatnot that she's made kind of her main soup, I would say, is combating government fraud, which is massive in Minnesota. So that's kind of a good thing to be aligning yourself with, no matter what party you are in. So if you're a Democrat yourself, start aligning yourself with fighting corruption, not exactly with the rich people, how the rich people are hoarding all the money. Start attacking the government, the people who are actually making the policies that hurt everybody. And improving accountability are her key themes. She has pointed to what she calls record fraud under Walz's administration, citing an estimated $610 million in state fraud over the past 6 years, including money siphoned from programs such as that were supposed to service people such as low-income children. As Speaker, she stressed priorities such as stopping waste, making Minnesota affordable, strengthening safety, and lowering mandates. However, her path was not without obstacles. The Republican Party of Minnesota has not won a statewide race since 2006. Meaning that Demuth faces a dual challenge of winning her primary and then taking on an entrenched incumbent within her own party. Multiple Republicans are already considering running for the nominee spot, including, I believe, Scott Jensen has already cast himself into it. I don't think that he's a solid bet. He's a bland nobody who was not able to win last time. Potentially fragmenting support. The fact that she is comparatively newer with high levels of statewide campaigning could also be a disadvantage. Implications and outlook: if elected, she would be the first female and the first black governor in Minnesota history. She is has tried her best to downplay that, which carries symbolic weight, quite frankly, with the fact that she's not out there going, I'm the first this, I feel the weight of that, I understand people seeing themselves represent. When you start talking like that, you already are just like, I know you're a bit egotistical, I'm sorry. When you're like, I see the value in being the first of this or whatever. It's not helpful, it's not useful. Her win would represent a dramatic shift for the people in Minnesota, and especially their politics. It would likely signal a broader change in state party politics. For Waltz, the entrance of a prominent speaker into the House raises the stakes of his third-term bid, suggesting that Republicans view it as a viable opening. At this time, the political terrain remains difficult. Minnesota's recent historic statewide Democratic wins and the financial and organization demands of running against an incumbent and the internal pressures of securing her party's nomination are significant hurdles. However, she will attempt to navigate these. She's positioning herself as a staunch conservative, but also bipartisan with her credibility, and it will likely determine her campaign as competitive or symbolic. So let's... Care 11 news, folks.
Just within the last hour, we have confirmed a big shakeup in the Minnesota governor's race. Republican House Speaker Lisa Demuth says that she will be running. Maya Katene has more on the already crowded race. House Speaker Lisa Demuth is tossing her name into an already crowded pool of Republicans, hoping to get the GOP nomination in the race for governor. Representative Demuth is a small business owner from Cold Spring who served as a school board member for 11 years before getting elected to the House in 2018. She stepped into her role as House Speaker in February of this year, now serving as both the first black lawmaker and first Republican woman in that position. Larry Jacobs, who's a political scientist and professor at the University of Minnesota, says Demuth holds firmly to her conservative values but has a different political approach than most of her colleagues and has shown a willingness to reach across the political aisle.
It is becoming a crowded Republican field for governor. I think what's really striking, though, is none of the big names. Tim Pawlenty's not stepping forward. None of the Republicans elected to Congress are stepping forward. So it opens it up a bit, and among the other candidates in it, they're each kind of staking out what you might think of as a lane. You've got some who are further to the right, some who are more moderate, or at least sound more moderate.
Representative Demuth joins a handful of other Republican candidates who've declared a gubernatorial run. That includes Representative Kristen Robbins, Dr. Scott Jensen, and businessman Kendall Qualls. We are now 1 year away from the election, which will take place in November of next year. Incumbent Democratic Governor Tim Walz is running for re-election, and Jacobs says the main issues voters will hear about in this race will be fraud, the state budget, and the economy. Ryan Katene, Care 11 News.
She may have a real shot. I'm not lying to you. This woman sat down for a one-on-one. She seems as though she's well-spoken. She seems as though she could really carry favor with a lot of the voters. I'm not going to lie. I will also link in the description. It's relatively brief, but it's a one-on-one that they had with her, and she's remarkably well-spoken. Here.
Do you feel like it's been a mixed bag? Do you feel like they've been negative at all? Why don't you walk me through, I guess, sort of the decision that you came to run for governor?
I am running for governor, and what I want to do with this opportunity is I want Minnesota to be stronger and better. And the decisions that have come up to this point, when I think of what a Minnesota that's stronger and better means, that means businesses that can thrive, families that are thriving and succeeding. Our kids will have an excellent education, and all Minnesotans can succeed. The decisions that have brought me to this point is I don't feel that is where we are at right now.
How do you feel, why are you doing this? What's the goal and what spawned this decision?
Serving as speaker and just my 7 years in the legislature, Minnesota is not...
I would also love to point this out. This woman was born in Paynesville, Minnesota in 1967. Do you know what that means? She's an actual Minnesotan. She's not some out-of-stater like fucking Tim Walz is coming to our state trying to tell us what to do. I'm going to be real with you. I didn't vote for Michelle Fischbach, but I would support Michelle Fischbach for governor if she wanted to give it a shot. If she wanted to give it a shot, why not? Folks, we got to shake shit up. I'm not going to lie to you. we say that people should abide by standards. Well, then guess what, Tim Waltz? Governors should only do 2 terms then. Guess what? That's just kind of the precedent that's been set in the past. It's not usual to go for a 3rd term, but, I guess that's just what you want to do, and you also realize that there's nobody powerful enough or well-spoken enough that can put on the act as well as you can. So, good move on your part, buddy. A good move trying to keep yourself in power. I understand that. But if Democrats want to be talking about how we need to be following precedent and how we need to restrict our term limits and we need to make sure that no one stays in power for too long, I think that it's not very useful of us to, be putting on this kind of act with our governors going excessive term limits and such. It's just in my personal view. But anyways, folks, she is definitely a candidate to keep your eye on. I think that she definitely is one to bet on. She's one that I think I'm going to look into personally. You know what I mean? Who knows? Who knows where we could end up voting? You know what I mean? Before every election, I'll probably share who I'm voting for. That's what's fun about this. You know what I mean? Folks, let's get into the rapid fire of today. This is the section where I grab 10, 9 or so, 11... whatever of today's headlines that are just not, they're not, I can't be bothered to create a whole ass paragraph or so for me to read about it. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to tell you about them as briefly as I can and give you a brief synopsis because I think they're important to keep your media diet healthy. UK has had a train stabbing and 11 people have been wounded. In the UK, police have charged a 32-year-old man with attempted murder after stabbing people on a train and wounding 11 people. It's significant public safety incident raises questions about security on public transport and potential motives. Folks, if you ban all the guns, they're just going to grab knives. That's just folks, people want to hurt each other, and they're going to find ways no matter how you do it. Israel's top military lawyer arrested for leaking video. The country's top military leader was arrested for leaking video footage of soldiers abusing a Palestinian detainee. That's, according to The Guardian, that's not good for Israel, and that's also not good for our negotiations. Congress has called for FCC probe of 60 Minutes over Donald Trump Binance editing controversy. The House Democrats are requesting an investigation by the Federal Communications Commission into alleged admissions of the TV program 60 Minutes related to Trump's pardon exchange with crypto exchange Binance, according to Axios News. Yeah. I don't know why. If you watch the 60 Minutes interview, at one point she presses him, why did you pardon this fella who scammed a bunch of people with who has been charged through his crypto company? And he goes, look, I didn't know the guy. I just heard that he was a victim of the Biden witch hunt. I would go, I don't think that's a viable explanation for giving out pardons. I'm sorry, that's just a little ridiculous. As motives for giving out pardons, I'd want to be like, well, okay, let's look into what the details of their cases, and maybe then because the pardon is a big-ass thing. It's going, you are not going to be held account for anything that you did. It's a little ridiculous to me. Whatever. Shutdown politics have intensified people. Trump has been labeled desperate to end it. Political pressure is mounting as the United States government shutdown drags on, and Republicans claim that Trump is desperate to see an end to it amid still halted services such as SNAP benefits that are going to take a long-ass time to resolve. The Guardian is gonna tell you that you need to worry about it if you rely on this kind of food in order to get a job. You know what I mean? Not get a job, in order to eat. Yeah, I would say also get another job, but maybe that's probably the best bet. I know that the job market is garbage as of late, but it's tough. That's the world we're in right now. I think that if he signed the "Shut Up, I Want You All to Starve and Die" bill, I think they'd still be cheering it because it's an advancement forward. You know what I mean? It's something that we have. It's something that we didn't have before. Looking ahead, people, we got to think about the United States 2026 midterms. With Tuesday, we have an election ahead, and this matters bigly. We're going to talk about that later. Never mind. The health insurance premiums are also about to surge with open enrollment for the 2026 health plans under the Affordable Care Act underway, but no federal premium subsidies are with all of them set to expire on December. Premiums could rise at an average of about 30%. This is going to affect people who rely on the Affordable Care Act. So, if you do, keep an eye on that shit. Partial collapse of a medieval tower near Rome traps workers. Emergency services in Italy are working to rescue trapped Romanian workers trapped under a rubble after a partial collapse of a medieval tower near Rome's Colosseum. Pray for the workers. I'm sure the Pope is on that. He is from Chicago. He knows he knows about Shameless probably. And anyways, a new edition of the AI Today in 5 roundup covers key stories on regulation, compliance, and industry developments in artificial intelligence. AI governance is quietly becoming a major global policy topic with implications for tech and privacy in the business sectors. This is, Big Brother type shit. Good. Look forward to that. Keep your eye on the conventions where billionaires are meeting up and discussing things. Folks, here is our final story, and it's kind of for your consideration because it's mostly a discussion of what we have to look forward to tomorrow. Today is the final day before the elections across the nation tomorrow, from Minneapolis to New York. What is ahead for Americans? A lot of you are probably thinking about that, and so am I. The mayoral elections we've been talking about particularly a lot on this show, relating to Zohran Mamdani's New York City race and Omar Fateh's Minneapolis contest, highlighting the possible surges of progressive, democratic, socialist, borderline communist influence in urban politics. Both races will be decided tomorrow. Probably not totally, but I'm guessing that after COVID, let's be honest here, we're kind of back to the nightly results, you know what I mean? Like 2024, we kind of knew that Trump was winning that night. So I think that they will be decided tomorrow night, and they will carry implications for the broader American political landscape. Zohran Mamdani is a 33-year-old New York State Assembly member. He has captured the Democratic nomination earlier this year by defeating former Governor Andrew Cuomo in an upset win via ranked choice voting. Since then, he's maintained a strong lead in general election polling. One recent survey shows him roughly at 46% support compared to 24% for Cuomo running as an independent and 15% for Republican Curtis Sliwa. Mamdani's platform strongly emphasizes affordability, fare-free buses, rent freezes, rent-stabilized units, city-run grocery stores, and increased taxes on the wealthy. He calls for his campaign a politics of the future that puts working people first. Sounds a little, workers' rights-ish to me. With Election Day approaching, his dominance suggests a serious possibility that he could become New York's first Muslim and first Indian American mayor. That's pretty awesome for him. A landmark in the nation's largest city. In regards to how he plans to get any of this done, he will giggle at you, he will smile at you, he'll eat rice with his fingers, and then the conservatives will laugh at him for that. And then, you know what I mean? And even though it's not that funny, it's like people will straight up, they will make edits of it, they'll do animations of it and shit. Anyways, whatever, guys. At least his candidate, at least the Democrats' candidate has a chance of winning. Your candidate is running around in a red beret with 17 cats in his apartment. Nobody actually is going to vote for this man. I'm sorry, Curtis, I love you, but nobody's actually going to vote for you unless I lived in New York, in which case you would probably get my vote. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not a fan of Andrew Cuomo. I'd probably vote for Curtis Sliwa if I was a New Yorker. And he's not gonna win though. In Minneapolis, we have a similar mayoral contest featuring Omar Fateh, a state senator who is a self-identified Democratic socialist similar to our buddy in New York, challenging the two-term incumbent mayor Jacob Frey for the city's top job. Mayor Jacob Frey is milquetoast. He's nothing. He is curdled milk. He is cheese curds from Culver's. He is the custard. He is the most basic borderline Republican. He's a Hillary Clinton style. He's a billionaire's billionaire type of guy. even though he did raise shit on the wealthy. He's very good at showing up to the gay parade, the gay 90s. He's capable of dancing with the sleeveless shit. He's capable of blending in and having kind of this twink image appeal. But don't get it twisted. He hates all of you very much, so that he can sit in his apartment, you know what I mean, in downtown Minneapolis and drink Chardonnay with a state assemblyman, and then just like chill and then watch the city burn below him. Straight up, the city is burning below him, and he's just like, he's chilling. And I'm not gonna lie to you, that style of leadership might be preferable to what Omar Fateh is pledging to do. His campaign focuses on tenant protections, raising the minimum wage to $20 an hour, which is not going to happen, transforming public safety by shifting away from traditional policing, which is code, for more community-led models, which is in the sense where, let's say, you make a phone call. There's a homeless man with a needle in your front yard. And you've had this guy show up before. You can't let your kids play outside because of it. You live near, I don't know, the stadium in downtown, and you can see it from across the highway. And your kid just wants to play outside, and they are holding on to their what's it called? Their is it Paw Patrol shit? And they're like, "Mom, I can't go outside. He's back." And then you go, "Fuck, okay." You pick up the phone and you call the police, and then it's like, Minneapolis police, what is your emergency, and what's the address of whatever. Well, actually, no, they're not going to ask you that anymore. They're going to go ahead and they're going to say, Minneapolis police, what's the nature of your emergency? And then you're going to have to go ahead and you're going to have to say, there's a homeless man in my front yard, and he appears to have a needle. I think he's using drugs in my front yard. And they're going to go ahead and they're going to say, does he appear to be violent in any way right now? And you're like, well, I don't know. He's doing drugs. I feel like he's pretty unpredictable in this state. And they're like, well, I think, and this is, by the way, this is going to have to be every dispatcher, because apparently the dispatcher is going to be the person who's going to have to make this determination. They're going to go in their head, well, okay, we're going to go ahead and we're going to send what is called a mental health expert. And they're going to come up and they're going to show up with a clipboard and an application for a shelter that is funded by your tax dollars. And they're going to come up and they're going to go, hey, buddy. And then the guy he's going to take the needle out of his leg, and he's going to look at them because he sees the people with scales on their faces walking towards them, and he goes, his heart starts racing, and he sees the toy that your daughter left in the front yard, and he grabs it and he throws it as hard as he can at the mental health expert, and he dodges it, and he goes like, hi, my name is Ron, and I'm with the Department of Mental Health Services with the state of Minnesota and Minneapolis. How have you been disadvantaged by the system? And then he is going to look at you, and he's going to take this needle, he's going to hold it like a knife in his hand, and he's going to bear it to you, and he's going to start juking. He's going to start jumping back and forth on his feet, and he's going to go and then you're going to look at him and you're going to go, okay. And then you're going to flip through your papers. You're going to go through, okay, it says, confront him, but try to disengage. Okay, sir, please do your best to hear me. Understand that I want to help you. I want to understand your predicament. I want to know if you are a victim of systematic racism. And then he's going to look at you, and he's going to grab it tight in his hand. The glass is actually going to shatter in his hand. So now the glass is embedded in his hand. It's like part of his hand, and then the needle is sticking out the end of his hand, and then he's like, and then he just starts running at you, and then you're like, oh my god, okay, and then you get in your car again, and then you try to start it, and then you realize the front of your the front of your hood is popped, and they're actually, while you were trying to deal with that situation, a roving gang, probably the Bloods, because you're on the south side, excuse me, they came up and they stole your battery, and now your car doesn't work, so your best bet bet is to hit the lock because he's coming up. He's coming up to the side window. He's bashing on the side of the window with his one hand that is not bloodied up with the broken syringe, and he's going and then you're just like, fuck, okay, I'm hitting the lock button, but it's not closing. The thing is not closing because you need the battery in order to lock your car. And before you know it, it's too late. You're not thinking about the fact that your door could open. You're only thinking about the fact that he's already broken through the passenger side window. He's climbing over the side of the door in a rage. And before you know it, within seconds, it's almost like Five Nights at Freddy's when the fox jumps at you. He has ran at you. Your car is shaking and the windows are getting splattered with blood, and then you are just screaming. There is gurgles being heard, and then guess what? Over the radio they're going, how's the situation going? We've got a bed ready for him. Just bring him down to the station and we can get him back. We can get this guy back in the workforce in a matter of seconds. So that is Omar Fateh's plan for city workers in Minnesota, and I'm really excited for it because I'm hoping that this is actually the most effective way to combat homelessness and addiction on the streets. It's just like giving them shooting galleries and shit like that, where they are able to get clean needles, where they can shoot up. They can use drugs in a place where they are able to also be Narcaned in instances of overdose. We are going to foster that environment because admittedly that's not the problem. That's of course not the problem. That's not the situation. The situation is we have to walk up to these folks and we have to go, how have you been hurt by the system? Tell us the honest truth. Omar Fateh, he initially secured the endorsement of the party's local chapter, the DFL, but that endorsement was later revoked following concerns about the convention's voting process. Though the polling is less definitive than New York, his rise signals the momentum in which progressive circles in Minneapolis. His campaign is seen as a broader shift in urban politics, this general embrace of a socialist wave gaining stronger footing in major cities, which could reshape how the left approaches urban governance, affordability, housing, transit, and social justice. For the Democratic Party, these races test whether insurgent progressive candidates can win major office beyond legislative seats, and whether the party can absorb or resist the shift. For Republicans and moderates, the success of candidates becomes political ammunition, framing the left as too radical or out of touch. Additionally, the outcome will influence not just the city hall, but state politics, national policy conversations, especially around housing, transit, taxation, and likely the 2026 midterms by signaling an energized base in the voters and elites era of focusing on like taxing the rich, eating the rich and shit. The mechanics of these races and also the ranked choice voting in both cities show that these multi-candidate fields may result in results that we're not used to. They may be kind of uncertain as to whether or not we would fully agree with the way that these people were chosen, and the winner may not be clear immediately. There's things that we're going to all need to watch tomorrow. Given the stakes, how many voters will be mobilized in both cities does matter. Counting and results may be delayed. Both cities have ranked choice voting. Expects results to roll in slowly for the second or third choice allocations to matter a lot. Opposition consolidation or split in the fields in New York City, especially how the opposition Mamdani, Cuomo plus Sliwa and others splits or consolidates will determine whether he crosses a decisive threshold. Messaging aftermath, regardless of the outcome, how the voters or losers frame their campaigns will signal shifts for future statewide national politics. And if either side wins, early actions around affordability, transit, housing, and in taxes will test the feasibility of bold premises, that are both sides are kind of pitching it right now. Folks, keep an eye on tomorrow's elections. There's going to be a lot to watch. I'm going to be reporting as live as I can on them. I will definitely probably have a winner for you either tomorrow or the next day. And speaking of which, yeah, we will be uploading tomorrow and the next day because we post every weekday. Folks, I'm not going to try to waste any more of your time. I really deeply appreciate you sitting with us for today. You didn't have to get your news from us here, but you did, and I'm grateful. Thank you so much. We'll be covering the latest on these elections. We'll be covering the latest on the news with you tomorrow. In the meantime, thank you so much for listening. We'll catch us later. Like if you liked it, subscribe if you want more. That's pretty much how it works, right? Yeah, that's a good way to put it. In the meantime, this is Ollie Vogt Larson with your Brain on Air. Thank you so much, and bye-bye.